Welcome to Warblog. This is, I think, turn 4 of this game, which is the El Qantara and Al Firdan scenario. Obviously a must-watch episode because I've never done this before. Just sort of play a game all the way through. But I'm sort of interested really on a few things, and I can't quite remember what's happening, but obviously we've got these sort of lost fronts here, and down here. I mean, he's obviously trying to put up a front, and he's going to put up a front. It's the Israeli turn, so that's sort of what we're doing. So let's just do it. Now, the key thing is they've got their Air Force, and they've just won air superiority. Now, that was a mind blower. We're not going to be able to take that out. This is just interesting. Might be able to move him out. No, I'm stuck there, which makes sense. Right. 6.6, 4.7, 5.2, 4.3, 0, and 0. So these two are sort of healthy. And what I would like to do is to find something that's sort of like that. Not that. I'd like to attack it with something, but I'm not so sure. .9, 0.5, 0, 0. So that's going to be difficult. .5. Okay, let's go for that stack, and I'm going to put some artillery on that. I have actually got a book. I'm thinking, let me just go and get my book. Yeah, it's the Yom Kippur War, the epic encounter that transferred the Middle East by Abraham Rabinovich. I haven't read much, but I don't really like it. It's got that sort of hardcover, make this book look nice and thick with, 500 pages so that it looks good and people would buy it type feel. 515, but the text seems sort of fairly big, although I guess maybe it's not. Maybe the pages just feel thick. It just doesn't feel particularly quality, and there's virtually no maps, so it's sort of a bit disappointing. But when I actually read it, it was actually not that bad. I read the first sentence and I thought, no, this is rubbish. The first sentence on the crossing says, the planes went in first, skimming low over the canal and then rising briefly for orientation before diving at their targets. I mean, it sounds like a bad romance novel. It might as well said it was a nice sunny day. Little did the Israelis know they're about to be seriously upset. But then when you actually read it through, I've only read these first 5 pages, the crossing. It gives you a bit of an idea. For example, it gives you a sort of a more flow. There's not a single reference really to sort of what units did what, and that's what I really think that is missing with just about the entirety of modern war books. You just can't get one that sort of said, this is the map and this is where this unit was. I mean, it just seems to me that there's a massive gap in the market there. Maybe no one's interested, but that's the sort of thing I'd like to look at. I don't really like it when it sort of says Israeli command centers, Hawk anti-aircraft missile batteries, artillery air bases, radar stations, the main intelligence bases in Sinai. One of the first Egyptian fatalities was the half-brother of President Sadat, a pilot shot down in the attack on Rephidim Air Base, where the main runway was knocked out for several hours and the control tower damaged. This stuff doesn't really say much to me. It's sort of tactical stuff. When it goes on, when the planes paused, the artillery opened up. So it gives you this sort of clear indication that the plane should go in and then the artillery opens up. And then it goes on a little bit further and it starts talking about how they crossed the canal in little boats and things. So basically I want to sort of maybe redesign some of these scenarios to put in, say, the commandos. They didn't build the bridges first. They went across in little boats, hundreds of them. And so I did it on the other scenario where you go across, but these are not, for example, what I want to do is put in some amphibious units, amphibious mechanized, amphibious infantry, because they're the first things that went across without bridges, and then the tanks needed to wait. So all this armored stuff needs to wait until the bridges are made, but we could sort of put in amphibious infantry. And so, reading that book and the descriptive narrative, it's actually made me double think this whole scenario with the vision and the other ones, with the impression of the idea of rebuilding them in some way. And that's exactly how I want to do these things, to sort of say, well, how can I really make this reflect what actually happened? There's always something that's sort of just not really easy to model or replicate, but I'll never really get there exactly, but that's what I like doing to some extent. So anyway, I want to sort of shift around here, but I really want to target that, and I want to but the thing is, there isn't really anything to move. I want to move it all really, but I definitely want to get this artillery there, and not him, him, and not him, and one more. Which one of these is least? 5.2, 4.7 There he is there. Okay, and then you can go in there. Now the artillery is going to come down on that, and hopefully we can get a unit. Not a big bonus, but and for anyone that's been watching these videos, I sort of started talking about getting my Cat 5 cable, my 25-foot cable, and it actually arrived. And then I realised that this laptop doesn't have a Cat 5 connector. I can't plug it in. And I've actually found a router. I could plug the router in, and the router has this strange sort of Cat 5 USB combi on it. And it's just, I just don't really have the time to care enough about trying to connect this up now. I just can't believe this doesn't have a Cat 5 cable. Oh look, we've routed it. That was exactly what I wanted to do. 2.6 damage, so that's good. I wonder what the odds are against that. Well, escape. I'm not going to attack that because We can attack it with these guys, attrition, because they've moved, but these ones haven't. But this one has moved, hasn't he? I can't remember which one has. I'll just attrition. It just seems so slow. They're just going to get destroyed if they try to move out of there. So I'm going to leave them. This armoured unit is going to try a breakthrough, but he's going to have to fight past this now. So we've got possibly a 1-to-1 there. So the Wi-Fi doesn't look that bad. It just seems slow. I think the site is sort of a bit slow at the moment. An exchange. Oh well, because it's getting a lot of traffic from China Mobile and all these sort of Far East sites. It's not real traffic; it's just robots, but they just keep hitting the site. I mean, it's happened lots of times before, but I think somehow because it's just a crappy server. It's not a bad server. I mean, there's not a lot of code on this, so I think there might be something that's happening at the moment, which is a pain. Let's get something. Yeah, I don't trust any of these things. I mean, I can hear the drive clunking along, so there's obviously something not doing very well. Unbelievable. 2.9 4.3. 14.5. Wow. That's it. That's it for the Israelis. When I was reading these books, what struck me about all of them, maybe not the 47 War, but definitely the Yom Kippur War and the Six-Day War, was that what they both sort of did was initiate surprise attacks. Although, when you read it, it's sort of, you think, well, why was it a surprise? I mean, obviously the Egyptians were building up, and it sort of struck me that, that's what they were doing, but they didn't realise that they were actually going to attack. So they were probably promenading, putting their troops around, doing manoeuvres and things like that. And this whole concept of doing manoeuvres seems to me to be it's exactly the sort of thing you do before a surprise attack. So anything like this shouldn't necessarily be a surprise, because you can see them building up. They could see it building up on the other side of the Suez. And when they started attacking, it sort of, you can almost see this sort of inevitable culmination of activity happening. There's no such thing as surprise at that level, but the surprise is actually committing it. And basically, what it sort of struck me was that both sides are sort of keen. Yeah, because that's right. I know I'm missing something. I think it's not going to be the 47 War, is it? I can't remember. Where's it in here? I mean, basically, the war. This is the thing about the Israeli conflict. I just don't really understand all of it. When did they take Suez? This has got a reasonable map of some of the forts. Budapest. There was another thing in here actually that it talks about. That's another thing. It talks about a fort down near El Qantara. Let me see if I can find that thing. Basically, what I was getting to is that it seems that the Egyptians put a lot of thought into creating a surprise attack in which they had a really powerful initial punch. And it seems to me that that concept is going to exist in the sense of this modern era now. I mean, if Israel is involved in anything, they're probably going to receive it with little notice. And that's kind of strange, really. And secondly, when I was reading the Six-Day War, saying that the Egyptians are sort of, basically threatening war, and the Israelis basically struck in advance, and it was talking about when they knew they were going to be hit because the Egyptians were building up, as they're doing in this one, and then they just did preemptive strikes. And to some extent, you sort of think, well, this is what they're doing at the moment. I mean, they're attacking targets in Iraq. I mean, they have to fly through Syria or something to get there. They're blowing up loads of Iranian ground units at the moment. They're doing the equivalent of their sort of their sort of whatever that word was I just mentioned. Their preliminary attacks. I can't remember. I know what I'm talking about. I can't materialize it in my mind. Basically, they're doing it now. Preemptive attacks. So they're sort of carrying out these preemptive attacks now, and it's kind of interesting Now, the thing with the Egyptian war and this one, the Egyptians had a massive war machine, and to some extent the Syrians had one as well. And I think, on balance, these Syrians at the moment do not have an effective war machine. I mean, they have a few tanks, a few aircraft, but everything they got really is just based on very low level, almost irregular operations. When you see the videos, they've got armored cars because they can't buy tanks. They've got a few tanks, porties with 25 pounders on the back or whatever. They do not have what they had even in 1973. Like battalions of effective mobile howitzers, that they could line up and just sort of fire. They just don't have that sort of power. And from what I can see of the Israelis, that they pretty much have a fairly large and effective war machine. And if they're prepared to sort of actually start using it, I can't see the Syrians really being in a position to do something like that. And obviously the other forces involved. I mean, Jordan, they're hardly sort of an international military force. Lebanon, I can never remember what's happening up there, but I think that's sort of, Lebanon is not really involved, but Hezbollah might be to some extent with their rockets. But it comes down to the Egyptians. I can't see the Egyptians deciding to sort of start war. I mean, times have changed so much, and they've got a lot of problems of their own. So I can't really see something like that happening. But in theory, if they were, they would sort of somehow build up. And so I think the only people that have really got a gripe with Israel at the moment is Syria, with sort of, to some extent the Iranians. But if there were some strife and they were to sort of, to do something, they would be preemptive in whatever attack. And although I'm going all over the place here, there is something here. It said screened by smoke shells, they started across the waterway, some paddling, some propelled by outboard motors, to the chanting of Allah Akbar, God is great. General Shazli had arranged for loudspeakers to be set up at crossing points, repeatedly broadcasting the ancient battle cry, which was picked up by the soldiers. Basically, in here, what I'm looking for, and I probably won't be able to find it, is it names the fort that I'm trying to find. It names a fort just near this El Qantara. Fort Perkan, midway on the canal. Maybe it's Fort Perkan. But they have these forts, and this one actually has a map. As I said, it's sort of quite interesting. So we've got Perkan, we've got Hizion, Matsmed, etc., etc. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. But basically, I got the book, and it's got some extra detail that I'm going to try and incorporate. But that's that. So now, the Egyptians really can't use their air force anymore, but they've still got 4 units. And so, look, there we have it. This is why I wanted to play. There come the Israelis. 4 of those. 4 of those. Can they save the day? And up there, look. Look at that. So this is why I wanted to. So now the Egyptian Air Force is now checked. They're not going to fly because they will just get shot down. Dealing with this stuff, there's that there as well. Oh, this is interesting, but I'm probably not going to be able to really do much because I think it needs a bit of thought. And that thought really is, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I mean, I think what we need to do is somehow regroup. One of the things I want to do is to take out these mines. So we can do that. Clear mines. But look, the density was 2, and I wonder if we can do it again. No. So the mines are still there. We need another engineer in there. Okay, we'll clear that next turn. So, I mean, strategically, I think the thing to do would be to at least clear these units out of the way. I mean, we've got to be able to get them out of the way. One of the things I was thinking about, and I'm not going to do it, but I'd like to start this game again, because I think the Egyptians lost this line early. I have changed a few things, and I will make a few other changes, but I'd rather complete the other scenarios first. But I think they can hold further, and I think the thing to do would be to take out these artillery positions first. That would be the thing to do, because they were devastating. Because I think this game could be sort of, could work out differently, but we've got these units here. So what I'm trying to do, in my mind's eye, is to think about what I'm going to do. So, I mean, clearing this out, okay, how important is that? Clearing that unit, how important is that? Blocking these units, etc., etc., blocking these units, somehow containing these units, and obviously we're just going for everything, containing these units and destroying these units. Now, how important are these? What should be done first, and how many, what sort of forces do we have on the other side of the canal to actually do this at this moment? We've got several things to consider. Firstly is movement. How long it's going to take to get anywhere. It's all fair enough saying, well, we can destroy all these units, but we can only move so far. So this is one block of units, but most of these can't really move that far. The infantry can't, so it's only the mechanized that have the mobility to sort of actually do anything. And if they get an exchange, they're out of it. They probably won't get many attacks anyway. We're not going to be able to use this one stack to destroy this entire section. So along here we've got quite a lot, but again, do we really want to commit all these tough units to taking out that? Maybe, but somehow we want to be pushing, I think, these units. See, this is why I like these tools. I think these units somehow need to be sort of moving over here to put that line against that. These units, I think, are going to be okay for trying to block that. I think here we've got to somehow try and at least take that place. So that, I think, will sort of help. But, if the Israelis can join these lines up, they can put this line back into not any effective use, but you know, it's all about numbers to some extent. These units might be worth 8, you know, and get a 7-1 against it, but they can only take out 1 unit at a time. And now that we sort of are losing air superiority, that might become an issue. You know, the thing is if the Israelis keep 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that only gives them 2 ground attacks a turn. It's just not a lot. It might be worth them just giving up on air superiority. So I think I'm going to do the obvious, but what I want to see, what do I do with that? Okay, well here, so we really want to sort of commit some of this armour to come down here and let the infantry take these little units out. So here, so we might be able to push him back, maybe even destroy him. He'll go there if he retreats. So we can push some of these. See, it's 14. He's okay. He's okay. Let's use those 2 units, not the mechanised, to see whether we can clear that line out. And look at all that artillery we've still got. Come on. Well, eliminated it. How slow it is. Right. The benefit there, it frees up this for zone of control, meaning that he can now come down here. So what I'm trying to do here is to create a blocking force against this. Similarly down here. So we can move him. He is part of the 117th Brigade as well, so okay. We have sort of left him. Not sure that was part of my game plan really, but infantry, 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 infantry. We'll push these guys along there into that. How much to commit down here? 3 units. Let's put some artillery in there, since we've got it. I did give these 2 movement to reflect the fact that they're probably more static artillery places. I mean, I could have given them 1 movement, but the thing is, this slow connection, I don't believe it. You know, it's just the same as it always is. There's always some external force trying to sort of make it difficult for me to make these videos. You know, attacking my sound card and things like that, affecting the video recording thing. It wouldn't record videos. Now I haven't got a ready speedy connection. I am a conspiracy theorist, but I just simply don't believe, you know, because it's never really done this before. Perhaps, you know, sort of trying to suggest that the air here is maybe thicker or denser, or some reason Wi-Fi connection, which has always been pretty good, now suddenly is unable to handle simple HTML, etc., etc. I'm not really that bothered, but I don't, you know, when it comes to troubleshooting, I tend not to sort of, you know, you've always got to have, well, it's 2% this, 5% this, and 65% police state. You know, you can't not factor that into any troubleshooting, so much so that it's just not worth doing it. For example, I don't buy new computers, or I just kick the can along the road, because I know it doesn't matter what I buy, it's going to go wrong. You know, I mean, Microsoft upload, they have backdoors. I mean, it's not even invisible backdoor. They will update your computer regardless. You know, this very computer, I like this computer. I got it from Walmart. I can see the label. It's a Lenovo IdeaPad 330S. The S stands for stupid. And what that means is you can't run clever things on it. It's meant for students. But I don't want to run anything like that. As I've sort of maybe shown before, it's got 20 gigabytes of RAM, 14 of, 20 gigabytes. It's got, and it's going slow. Eliminated. You know, I don't want to complain too much in a video. And if I complain, maybe try to make it a little more light-hearted in my complaints, but little else to do when you're waiting for 220 kilobytes to download. Right, so I think we can consider we've taken that. Okay, so we've got a line there. We sort of contain that. I don't need to bother with too much with that. I'm going to push some of this stuff along here. That might not have been a good idea because he's 14.5% depressed. There should be something in there saying, he can't move towards the enemy. And he's depressed as well. He's not touched. Nor is he. We can't attack that. We've got like 3 against 3. It'd be 1-to-1. Right. So now do we commit these to that? I'm going to try and take out this artillery. Well, we've got some artillery we can put in there first. Well, that was worth the wait. Just waiting. Got the artillery. Right. Well, in that case, I'm going to commit 1 against that and 1 against that. Because they've got to attack something so they can gain their movement back. Yeah, I'm looking at this 25-foot cable now, and maybe I should somehow get it in. The Israelis are really not doing very well, but the thing is, if I replayed it, I'm sure that I could do more on the grounds that when these reinforcements come in, that could sort of do things. I think it could be done. You'd have to be very clever, and I think one of the things I would do is what I did do. I left everything, especially along this line. I left an even line everywhere. I think if I was to do it again, I would actually move a lot of these units out to toughen up the these forts. The other thing about reading that book, it seemed to indicate that the bar lev line wasn't really. I mean, when I read it on Wikipedia, it said it was sort of like invincible, or it's supposed to be invincible. But I got the impression that it was actually sort of a series of forts, and in between them wasn't really that well defended. They could just go around them. So what I'm saying is, was the bar lev line just a solid line of entrenchments like this, maybe with a fort here, a fort there, etc., or were they just sort of big gaps of desert that they could go through? But I'll have to think about that. But basically, I think we only got to get to turn 7, and all this armor comes on. I think it would be doable. And I'm actually quite keen to sort of consider that as an option. Where was I? Okay, so I'm attacking down here, so I'm going to attack into there as well. So we're just decimating this Israeli line. Which one is it that I really need to maybe put that information on there? So he's at. Okay, so it's the one that's at 0.5 that can fight. It's the one that's not on 0.5. I can't remember now. Yeah. So they should both have movement, but not a lot. So that's what I'm saying. They could get there, do some damage, but that's it. That's the end of their turn. So these 2 units can possibly be removed now. But he's actually quite tough. He's been hit. Move both these units there. Use some artillery on that. Nothing else to shoot at soon. Yeah, this waiting is sort of painful, but I always like to sort of point out that it's not always like this, but it's been like this for a few days now. It's frustrating, but you just look through some of the other videos and usually it's just instantaneous. It's the nature of the code, but I think the server is being targeted. It's getting all this sort of crappy spam things that are hitting the server, and they take up resources, and I think the host is balancing that load. So because we've got a lot of use, it's slowing this down, and that's not because the server's being slowed down. It balances things, or something like that's what thinks is sort of happening. And it's just a waiting game, really. I mean, I could move this onto a VPS quite soon. I have that capability, and I have actually. Frustratingly, I've got a VPS set up now. Well, not a VPS. I've got a VPS with Amazon, an Amazon VPS. Using their huge cloud infrastructure. It's costing me like about £30 a month. I just haven't done anything with it. I'll have to go in there and shut that down. But so it is something I sort of will do at some point, but I just don't want to do it just yet because for a lot of reasons, really. I mean, I'm okay with servers, but I just don't want to be surprised with some sort of, oh, we need like 20 days of your time now to put your server back together. I'd rather have it on a hosted environment where at least they do that. There's just, I don't know why I did that. See, when things get slow, and this is the same thing in life, when things get slow, you lose the plot. And even like fractions, even seconds is like too long to wait, and people don't understand that. I mean, so, when you can't wait for something, I don't know. I don't know if you remember what the word is for when you can't wait for something. They say you're so, I don't know. But they say that, but it's a fact. If you're doing some sort of heavy thinking, you need things to work, as Bill Gates said, at the speed of thought. As soon as it gets slowed down like this, and it's the same thing with talking with slow people. I should be more patient when I can't, because I lose the plot. I lose the will to live. Okay, so we pushed him back. Let's go for this anti-aircraft unit. I'm also sure that it's not actually as slow on my other computer. This is just like, I'm actually logged into, so I just really don't like modern world. I'm logged into my Google account on my other computer. I'm logged into another account, so I have a tendency to not use that. And I sort of thought, oh, well, it'll be a bit of discipline. I'll only have my YouTube account on this computer, which means that if I do a game, I have to make an effort to do that game. And so I can't really do it on my other computer because my YouTube account is connected to my Google account, which I've got lots of Google accounts, but I'm doing one that's connected with a Google AdWords account, or Google AdWords account, and I really have to be into that quite a lot. And I'm sort of committed to sort of being logged into that. And I just really don't like Google. I just don't like, you have to be logged into everything, and I signed up for all this magic phone numbers, WhatsApp. It's just so difficult, and I'm a clever person. I wrote this game and I find it difficult to use Google applications and WhatsApp. I just think, well, what's happening in the world? Nothing's intuitive. They've just dumbed everything down to level stupid. And so anyway, I'm logged into YouTube on this computer, which means if I don't actually start this computer up for a few days, I don't see whether or not I have any messages or anything like that. Not that anyone does, but I do like to sort of look at the traffic stats and whatever. And they have this thing, don't they? If you on my Facebook, that you respond within a few days, you get brownie points and stuff. That anyone ever does anything, but I sort of like to know if there's a comment coming and not 3 or 4 days later. But anyway, so that's the situation I got at the moment. It's so slow, I completely lost the plot on what's happening. I think he's zonked out, so we've got these units here, which, let's face it, they're not going to move very fast. I think we can leave these mobile units on there, so let's just get them onto the road. So you can see the server's working okay because, you know, that's happening quite quickly, which means the server's not slow. It's just the right. So that's what we've got there. We've got these sections doing mobile warfare. These units to bolster up here. So we've got this one section here left to do. Well, let's just go for it. Well, we won't be able to do that really, will we? Not many minutes left. Okay. Let's go for this. See, this is just a form. There's no heavy code on this. I mean, it's a bit of HTML, some images, and a 1, 2, 3, 4 5 check boxes and a submit, and it's taking this long. You know, which I don't. It just, you know, this isn't. So we push them back. Do we have enough to go against that? Well, might as well. It might be a 1-to-1, but we might have pretty good odds because they're fairly knackered. Although I did put those good units in there, but these are mechanized against infantry at the best, so hopefully this won't take more than 2 minutes to accomplish. Maybe I'll consider cracking out my other computer and having us trying to get some sort of reasonable speed. Never used to be like this on this area actually. You know, this is my special gaming area at this location, and look forward to this setup. And I even bought a 25-foot cable to sort of sort it out, but maybe I can get a USB to Cat5 dongle. Oh, look at that. 2-to-1. That was exactly what was required. So anyway, I'm going to have to cut it short in a sec, but that's what we got. I will do another session, but it's the Israeli turn next, so that's going to be interesting. Armored fighting vehicles, see what they can do. I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.